Adam, more than a dozen people have died in a garment factory fire in Bangladesh. What can you tell us?
Yeah, at least 16 people have died so far, and sadly officials are warning that the death toll could rise even further after this huge fire at a factory in the Bangladeshi capital, Dhaka. The fire broke out at midday on Tuesday. It's a 4-storey factory, and the emergency services, they managed to get it under control around 3 hours later, but they've struggled to contain another fire which had broken out in a chemical warehouse next door. And local media are reporting that that fire was still burning as late as 9 p.m. local time last night. Now, we have no confirmation yet of exactly how this fire started or which of the two buildings caught fire first. But eyewitnesses on the ground have said that the chemical warehouse actually contained lots of flammable goods, including bleaching powder and plastic, so could very easily have caught fire. And the director of the fire service in Bangladesh has told local media that the victims likely died instantly after inhaling highly toxic gas. There's an urgent investigation now to try and find out exactly what happened, if the warehouse was even operating legally. And police and military are also trying to find the owners of the factory as well. Now, there are many people still unaccounted for. Their family members and friends are waiting outside the factory, desperately waiting for any news. But given the severity of this fire, it's looking increasingly unlikely of the chances of finding any further survivors.
And Adam, the US has charged a Cambodian man at the centre of an alleged cryptocurrency scam, and they've seized more than 20 billion New Zealand dollars. This is in Bitcoin. So what's going on?
Yeah, so this relates to one of the scam centre operations that you may have heard about in Cambodia. They're effectively factories full of workers who spend their day trying to scam people by targeting them with fake investment opportunities around crypto, or creating fake romantic relationships to try and steal as much money as possible. And lots of the workers in these factories are actually scammed in the first place to come and work for these organisations. And the alleged founder of one of these scam centres has been charged by the US government and accused of exploiting forced labour and using the proceeds of these scams to make lavish purchases, including yachts, jets, and even Picasso paintings as well. And a number of his co-conspirators have also been charged. They haven't all been named except for one of them, who is the founder of one of these scam centres. His name is Chen Zi. He's a 38-year-old who was born in China and was acting as the chairman of a company called the Prince Holding Group. He remains at large at the moment, but as you said, over 20 billion New Zealand dollars worth of Bitcoin has been seized from his company. The company has also been sanctioned by both the government in the US and the UK, and this Mr. Chen, he had a lot of properties in the UK, as did some of his co-conspirators, and those properties have now been frozen, including a £12 million mansion in central London and a huge office block in the heart of London's financial district as well. And if Mr. Chen is found and charged, he could face up to 40 years in prison. The US Attorney Joseph Nosella called this one of the largest investment fraud operations in history. And prosecutors said at one point Mr. Chen was bragging that his scams were pulling in around 30 million US dollars a day. So these are obviously huge operations, but it does seem that governments in the West are starting to fight back against these scam centres and try and seize some of their assets.
Adam, I find it really interesting that Indonesia wants to pour money into Bali to stoke a business boom on the island. I mean, the infrastructure there seems to be heaving and the weight of tourists is huge. What are the details of this?
Yeah, so they want to try and turn Bali effectively into a regional financial centre, sort of think New York, London, and then you might have Bali on top of it now as well. They want to try and create a financial hub for Southeast Asia as the government tries to boost Indonesia's struggling economy. And to do this, they want to attract banks and asset managers and private equity firms to come and be based in Bali, and they'd offer them tax and regulatory exemptions. And anyone who's tried to do business in Indonesia would know that there's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, so they want to try and cut that out by having a different legal framework for Bali, something similar to what they do here in Singapore, which is always seen as a very business-friendly destination. But obviously there are questions over just how many firms they could attract to Bali. As you mentioned, it's severely crowded. They're struggling with over-tourism. The roads are full. They had the floods recently. A lot of people attributing that to over tourism on the island. So the idea that they're going to suddenly spring up a load of offices in Bali is quite difficult to comprehend at the moment. Perhaps the cheap Bintang beer will attract some people to the island. But yeah, I don't know if Bali's quite ready for skyscrapers at the moment, but it's certainly an interesting idea, and apparently has the backing of the famous investor Ray Dalio. So watch this space.
Thank you, Adam. That is Adam Hancock, our Asia correspondent, joining us live there